body, and it's much easier to manufacture compared to 3D glass. With this 3D body, this is why we can fit the bigger 4000 mAh battery with liquid cool in a phone that still feels great in the hand. On the bottom, we have a USB Type-C port, which again supports Quick Charge 3.0 with a 9-volt 2-amp 18-watt charger in the box. On the bottom, we have a USB Type-C port. Maybe I can just skip this one. So it does have a dedicated amp. I think some of you on some other Xiaomi devices really loved audio out of the headphone jack. Its audio on this device is pretty awesome. So what about the front? On the front side of the phone, it's a 6.18 Full HD Plus display. It's an LCD display. It has a maximum brightness of 500 nits. Another thing everybody said, we want Gorilla Glass, so we put 2.5D Corning Gorilla Glass on this for durability. And you might be wondering what's going on up at the top, so we can dig into that a little bit. So we have over here all the components. This is the standard stuff, the proximity sensor, the 20 megapixel front camera. But to the left of the earpiece, we've added these components for infrared face unlock. And this gives you face unlock even in the dark. So we have two things here. There's the infrared light, which you'll see once you start using the phone, and then there's the lens, which actually takes the image. So we have a video here. I was the model for this video. So let's take a look at how well it works. I was the model because I'm really not good at modeling. The technology is a lot cooler than my facial reaction. I think the best facial reaction is at the end, which is the last shot we did, so I was super happy about it. But in our internal lab tests, we've measured in completely dark environments, face unlock works in less than 0.4 seconds. Now, the problem with the regular face unlock that's done through the normal front camera is that in the dark, it just doesn't work. And if it works, you have to just max out the brightness on the display, which is the last thing you'd want to do when it's night. So face unlock with the Poco F1 works really well, even in the dark. All right, so I mentioned what's going on up at the top. If you don't like the notch, you can just change it in settings. It's pretty simple. All right, I mentioned audio. Let's talk a little bit more about audio. Poco F1 has Dirac HD sound, so you get, again, really high quality sound. We talked a couple months ago about Smart PA, which is a smart power amplifier that helps you get really loud audio through the speaker without any distortion. In the Poco F1, we actually have dual Smart PA, so it's even better than any device we've shipped before. And the audio, during landscape mode, we do audio out of the earpiece for a stereo-like effect. Again, audio on this phone is really cool. You guys should definitely try it out. All right, Poco F1 comes in 3 colors. The one we've been showing here is called the Graphite Black. There's also the Steel Blue, which has a nice metallic sheen. Here's another view of that from the front and the back. This next one is my favorite. This is called the Rosso Red. This is not like one of those tricks that looks good on a slide or whatever. Like, go check it out in the experience zone. It actually looks really good. It has a nice kind of like tactile matte finish. Another view of that one. Definitely check this out. It looks, I think, really good on photos as well. So we've talked a lot about Xiaomi, how Xiaomi helps us So this is some of the quality tests that we do. You guys are familiar with some of these. I didn't notice this one. I'm not sure if I've seen it before. My favorite one is down here at the bottom, which is the dust test, where we roll the phone in a cornflower environment. Don't recommend doing that, but I'm glad that somebody did it somewhere. So this is an example of why relying on Xiaomi for quality really helps us. We can deliver a great phone with great performance, but ensure the highest quality. Okay, so I think everybody kind of knew all of that stuff. Maybe you didn't see the red one. The red one's pretty cool. But it's time we didn't really have an answer for that. So we went back to the drawing board and figured out how to solve this problem. And we made this next version just for you. It's called the Poco F1 Armored Edition. And the Armored Edition is made with real Kevlar aramid fiber. This is a key material in a lot of extreme sports gear because of its durability and lightness. It's actually imported from an American company called DuPont. It's also used, it was one of the major components in the spacesuit. This is, the thing that protected some of the astronauts during the Apollo 11 mission to space. But I think Kevlar is more commonly known as the material that's used in bulletproof vests. This phone is not bulletproof, but it uses the same material, which is, again, really, really cool. So you want to see what it looks like? Pretty awesome, right? I think particularly on this version, the red accents around the camera look really great up there. Kevlar is scratch and wear resistant, and it really feels amazing in your hand. It has a really nice grippy texture. So we didn't want to make just another glass phone. For those of you who told us they wanted something cool, Kevlar is most definitely cool. It's a phone that you really appreciate when you pull it out of the box, but you won't feel the need to immediately slap a case on it because it's too slippery and fragile. We think you'll really, really love this phone. All right, so let's take a look at all four of them together. Again, steel blue, that's the Rosso red in the middle. The Armored Edition made with real Kevlar, and this is the graphite black that we've been talking about. All right. So we have a product video showing off some of these phones. Let's take a look. All right. So if you were unhappy when you heard about the materials of this phone, hopefully it makes more sense now. When you put a case on it, you have a more durable phone. And if you really want something that feels premium, you have Kevlar, which is actually different. It doesn't look like just another glass phone. All right, I think the next natural section is the camera. This is another area where we really relied on Xiaomi's expertise, both in hardware and software. And our goal with the camera was to make it easy to get a great photo on the first try. So coming to the hardware, the Poco F1 main camera has a Sony IMX363, the same sensor that we're using in Xiaomi's top-of-the-line flagship phones, the Mi 8, the Mix 2S, and the secondary sensor here is a 5 megapixel sensor to give you depth information for those portrait mode shots. The primary camera sensor has massive 1.4 micron pixels. The IMX363 is very similar to the IMX362 that Google used in the Pixel 2 last year. And basically, more light per pixel means better low light photography. The main camera also has something called dual pixel autofocus. This gives up to 12 million focusing points at any one time, which is almost 30 times the number of focusing points compared to the traditional PDAF. The result is that we have a lot more data to find out what the object of focus is and do it really, really quickly. Again, this is something Google has in the Pixel, Samsung has in their top-of-the-line Galaxy and Note phones. So the Poco F1 went through a vigorous cycle of camera tuning in our labs. We spent a lot of time working in particular on the light. So here, we actually have a video for how it fares against the Samsung S9 and the OnePlus 6. The S9 has a similar sensor, I think at some devices, and then the OnePlus 6 has a 1.12 micron sensor without dual pixel autofocus. So we shot another video here. Let's take a look. Okay, so you can see how in low light, that's where the OnePlus 6 really struggles, because it has the smaller pixel size without dual pixel autofocus. Compared to the S9, again, pretty similar performance in low light focusing. So that's Poco F1 focusing. We really believe lets you shoot in the blink of an eye. Again, the goal is to make it so that you can get the right photo on the first shot. And we have a couple of examples here of sort of action shots. So there's obviously a lot of stuff going on here, a lot of movement in this photo, but the main object of focus, this guy doing a one-hand stand, he's still in focus, and you still have good colors in the back. Another great example, obviously a lot of movement here. We have dual pixel focus capture really, really quickly, which is much more with regular. Sure what's going on. I guess this thing for Holy or something, I'm not really sure. It does make for a good example. Again, all these kind of smoke bombs off. And this is those things where you don't on the first try, you need to buy smoke bomb. So as many of you know, more so than just the hardware, the software is important. And because we're using the same main sensor that we used in the Mi 8, and we're also using Snapdragon 845, so we have the same ISP, our camera tuning team was able to start with the same software baseline from the Mi 8. This gave us a huge head start on camera tuning. And things like the AI camera in particular take a lot of time and resources to perfect. So it was super helpful to be able to rely on Xiaomi's camera team when we started work on the Poco F1 camera. Many of you know how AI works in cameras. So basically we've trained our algorithms on thousands of images for different scenes. First, the camera tries to identify what you're shooting, and then it automatically adjusts the the camera settings to try to capture the optimal photo. We have a couple of examples here. This is backlight detection in sort of photos of people. So this is kind of the phone without the AI mode. You know, it captures the person in the foreground, but the problem is because there's a backlight here, kind of all the details in the clouds go away. Whereas if you compare it with the AI version, I can do that again. Particularly like in the upper left over there, you can see how adjusting things like the white balance, ISO, shutter speed really, really help here. We also have an option where if you want to do a silhouette, just tap that button, you can get a more dramatic Instagram-worthy photo. It's pretty cool. So beyond portraits, the Poco F1 is able to intelligently recognize 206 different scenes across 25 categories. These icons are things that you'll see inside the camera app when you use it. So this is the default position, just says AI. Here we're shooting an image of food. When it recognizes, that icon will change. So here it says food, and then we adjust the camera settings based on this to try to give you an optimal photo. We have a couple of examples here. This is kind of a building example. This is without AI. It's actually pretty decent. The problem is the main object of focus here is this building, obviously in the front. The lighting isn't that great. And if you look at some of the lines in buildings, the sharpness on the lines are really important because there's a lot of straight lines. So if we compare it to the AI version, it's a pretty big difference, right? Especially the lighting, sharpness on the building, details in the clouds. Actually, if you think that we kind of faked this photo, you can see like these people over here, like this photo was taken in the same lighting condition. These people, both of us. So the details are much better, and you don't have to do anything. We recognize that this is a photo of a building and change things automatically. Here's another tough shot looking directly at the sun. Everything is washed out. You can't really even see the sun. If we particularly check out the buildings here in the front. We jump to the AI version, you get a much deeper red. If you look at the sun in the background, again, you can identify the shape. And then you see different colors in the sky. I can just jump again. So it really helps quite a bit. This is a landscape shot. You'll see that it recognizes landscape. We've also spent time optimizing the AI algorithms for India, training it on different scenes, different types of people, things like jewelry, colorful temples, different kinds of food. And so you'll see a lot of these results when you take photos here. We have a camera tuning team that's taken thousands of photos to help train these algorithms. So let's take a look at a couple of the snaps. So I'm a little biased because I think any photo with a dog in it is pretty awesome. But as many of you know who've tried to take a photo like this, dogs just do not sit still. So it's really important to lower the shutter speed to try to get a clear focusing on the dog. The problem with lowering the shutter speed is that the phone doesn't let in enough light. So here we've kind of combined the settings from the shutter speed and then made sure that HDR kicks in to get enough light in this photo so you get some nice colors in the background. Here is something where if you look up, this is kind of a lake. If you look up there at the top, you can see actually the ripples of the water. Again, these things can kind of be blurred depending on the focusing speed, but then if you don't have the right HDR settings, then you won't have enough light in the photo. So even in challenging conditions, this is indoor low lighting, building features are captured in sharp detail without much graininess. All right, so coming to the front camera. So on the front, we have a 20 megapixel high resolution camera. This is actually the same camera module that we're using in the Mi 8. So again, with software, we're able to have a huge head start just importing the same software baseline for the front camera. So you get high-resolution photos, and then in low light, we do the 4-in-1 pixel binning to give you a super pixel here. This gives you an effective 1.8 micron pixel, and this, again, is used primarily in low light. We also optimize the AI Beautify mode, tuned it, again, specifically for India. It really enhances your selfies. We've talked about it a lot over the past, but it's a lot faster due to the AI chip here on the Snapdragon 845. Much like the rear camera, we also identify a bunch of scenes in the front camera. There aren't as many situations with selfies, but we try to make sure you get a lot of details out of the background. It's up to 10 different scenes. So here's a couple of quick snaps. Again, 20 megapixels here helps a lot for the resolution. I think Xiaomi'S bokeh algorithm is really, really good. Details here are really sharp. Also works in group selfies. This is something that is particularly popular here in India. Make sure that we get both subjects in focus. The blurring effect is good. Here's an example of the pixel binning. This is actually, it's difficult to show, but the environment is a really, really low light. So the fact that we can get a usable good photo is a result of these effective 1.8 micron pixels. So the Poco F1 front camera works pretty amazingly well. Encourage everybody to try it out. So that's the camera. We build on top of Xiaomi's expertise, both in hardware and software, and then spend months tuning the Poco F1 to give you superior image quality. We really hope you like it. All right, so that's performance and camera. Let me talk about the third thing, which is experience. And the software experience on the Poco F1 is designed for power users. It's for those of you who value performance over everything else, and we worked on a new software experience. It's called MIUI for Poco. It's a brand new interface that prioritizes speed and fluidity. So there's 3 components in MIUI for Poco. The first is the all-new Poco launcher, which I'll get into in a little bit. The second is something we call the turbocharged engine. This is what powers a lot of those under-the-hood optimizations for speed and fluidity. And the third thing is a focus on fast updates, which again is a piece of feedback that we heard from all of you a couple of months ago. So let me start with the app, the Poco launcher. This is probably one of the most noticeable differences that you'll see between the regular version of MIUI and MIUI for Poco. And the Poco launcher comes with 2 main features. The first is an app drawer, and the second, some customizations, to give you some more options, things that really make Android great. So the app drawer is probably the most commonly pointed out difference when people say, like stock Android versus MIUI. People say, I just want an app drawer. And the reason is because it gives you this convenient way to look at a sorted list of your apps. So let's take a look at how the stock Android app drawer looks like. So here we have the app drawer, sorted list of apps, recents up at top, and then the search bar all the way up at the top. So in MIUI for Poco, we brought the search bar down to the bottom, and this is because that's where your thumb is naturally, especially with the longer displays. It's a lot harder to search when it's up there. So again, makes it faster. Looks pretty similar, but a slightly improved function. Outside of app search, we have the ability to group things by categories. So we have the same recents up there, and then we create this tab which automatically groups your apps into categories. And this is something that we have seen from MIUI. This is how most people organize their home screen, is they put all of these apps into categories. So in the Poco launcher, we do it for you. All these things are sorted automatically. Of course, if you install another app, it'll just show up. If you happen to install another communication app, it'll just show up automatically. Super useful. We have another cool feature, which actually I use a lot now, and it's the ability to group apps by color. So when you turn this on, you get this nice set of colors down here. So here we click on the green one, and it just brings up all the apps by color. I thought that I always looked in the app drawer alphabetically, but you'll notice that when an app happens to change the icon, it becomes very difficult to find. So I found myself using this quite a bit. Privacy is also something that we focused on. So we have another cool little feature. It's hidden app icons. Swipe twice from the left. You can create your own password and then put apps in there as you like. So Android users, again, love customizing their phones. Another thing we did is we support third-party icon packs, things that you can install from the Play Store. So here we kind of shuffled through a couple of these icons. This is another area where that color search really helps because different icon packs change the color, which just like throws me completely off. Super cool, super useful. So that's the Poco launcher. And actually, we will make it available. We plan to make it available in beta next week, so you can download this on other devices as well. All right. So that's the Poco launcher, the first thing. The second thing is the turbocharged engine. And this, again, is a focus on performance. That's one of the things that people say. We want better performance. So we're going to talk about three things. There's a lot of stuff going on under the hood, but we're going to talk about three main results here. Faster app startup, better performance for your foreground app, and a much faster and more responsive swiping experience. Let's dig into these categories. First thing is faster app startup. This is powered by our VIP launch booster. We actually have a little bit of a animation here. Basically what we do is we allocate some dedicated resources for app startups. So when you start up a new app, instead of trying to get new resources, we already have a fast lane available to make sure that you have enough resources to start an app immediately. We've actually tuned this for the most popular apps here. So the startup time is really fast, particularly for these apps. And it's 28% faster when we did some comparisons with some other popular OSs with the same hardware. We actually, I believe, yeah, we have a video here, so let's take a look at this. So with these optimizations, we took about 36 of the apps versus 19 for the OnePlus 6. All right, so that's app startups. The third thing is a faster foreground app experience. So basically what we do here is we try to prioritize resources to the foreground app because that is what you're actually using. So typically on Android, there's a lot of processes running in the background and resources are kind of distributed evenly. So basically we use something called dynamic allocation. The foreground app here is the little blue app down here, and we try to take all of the system resources, CPU, RAM, and allocate it to that foreground app. Because again, that's what you're really doing, and you probably don't care about the performance of those background applications. And this makes a big difference, particularly in gaming scenarios. This is a MOBA called Arena of Valor. I'm actually really good at this game, so if anybody wants to challenge me, let me know. But it's not only the RAM and CPU. We also prioritize bandwidth to the foreground app. So if we click up here, this is if you happen to be downloading something in the background, what we do is we prioritize the resources, make sure that all of your bandwidth goes into this foreground app so you have a good ping. All right, so the third thing is a faster and more responsive swiping experience. And as a power user, we want to make sure that you get more immediate feedback when you interact with apps. So we've done two things here. The first thing here is the left. On the left, you can see Poco for MIUI. Basically, this is it's the touch response time. So it's when your finger touches the phone, how quickly we can detect the touch, how quickly the system detects the touch. And we've actually improved this by 20%. Again, here is better swiping animations. On the left, you have Poco for MIUI. We've made the swipe animations 22% faster. This is something that there's kind of a look and feel change that people talk about a lot, and we've optimized this particularly for Poco for MIUI. MIUI for Poco, sorry. So overall, these two things give us 21% better swiping performance than before. And again, we have some other videos comparing this to one of our competitors. so that's performance. Like I said, there's a lot more stuff under the hood. We have over 20 different deep system optimizations to MIUI for Poco, and the goal is to make sure that it feels fast and fluid all the time. So app drawer, turbocharged engine, and I think a category that I think many people care about, which is fast updates. So we're talking about fast updates, both in security updates as well as updates. All of you know that MIUI updates very, very frequently and for longer than any other OEM. But in this particular device, we wanted to prioritize those other two things, which many of you mentioned to us. So on to security updates. We will have security updates at least once a quarter, but we'll aim to do much better than that, but at least once a quarter. Onto the underlying OS updates, it ships with Android 8.1, but we will have the Android Pie update, the P update in Q4 of this year. That's, again, the latest time. We plan to do it much faster than that because we know this is important for all of you. And of course, it ships with Project Treble, which is one of the things that makes it easier for us to do these quick updates. It also, if you really love AOSP, it makes it easy for you to just slap an AOSP build on there. Speaking of some of those custom ROMs, we will do our best to support custom ROMs. I think given the hardware that we're talking about, I suspect that this device will be pretty popular with the custom ROM crowd. And as with Xiaomi devices, unlocking the bootloader won't void your warranty. So the kernel source will be available next week. It's the 29th. We'll post it in the same place. It's always posted on the MiCode GitHub repository. All right, so that's MIUI for Poco. Three things: most visible, the Poco launcher, the turbocharged engine for faster and more fluid performance, and then a focus on fast updates, which includes both security and OS, baseline OS updates. All right, so we have a summary video here. Let's take a look. Thank you. Sorry, one thing I forgot to cover, I think notifications is something that people talk about a lot. Many of you have probably used MIUI 10. If you notice, our goal there is to try to get both appearance and functionality on par with Android P. If you look at it, it really looks the same. We'll have the MIUI 10 update out for this device really, really quickly. All right. To summarize, and this might take me a little while, I think. So we started, again, with Snapdragon 845, top-of-the-line performance. It was the obvious choice. But we did something cool. Again, pun not intended there. We did something cool, but we paired it with liquid-cooled technology, so you get not only good peak performance, but sustained performance. My personal favorite thing, the 4,000 mAh battery, and we added Quick Charge 3.0, because I know many of you would have asked us for it, which ships in the box. We have fast memory, 8 gigabytes, up to 8 gigabytes DDR4X, up to 256 gigabytes of internal storage. And again, all of this is 2.1. Up here at the top, we have, again, leveraging Xiaomi's camera expertise. We're using the same main sensor that we use in the Mi 8, the same front camera module that we use in the Mi 8, and it's the same Snapdragon 845, so we have the same ISP, And again, we got a huge head start in software tuning because we're able to import some of those settings. And then we also have IR for face unlock with the cool video that I shot as a model, but in practice it works really well. And because it works in the dark, it never kind of ruins your habit. You can get used to it, and it just always works. And then MIUI for Poco with the app drawer, the turbocharged engine for better performance, and then a focus on updates. It's pretty amazing, right? So this, again, is the result of intentional product decisions that we made in the beginning. And it was stuff that we could do because we started from scratch. We could ignore trends that we think didn't really make sense. We didn't think it made sense to have another glass phone just because all other phones have glass. But we know that many of you cared about it, so we made that kick-ass Kevlar version. Everybody wants a bigger battery, so we made sure we had this huge battery. And I think the end result is awesome. I mentioned in the beginning that this is a type of phone that I've wanted to make. It's a phone that I think hits all the right boxes. It's really pretty amazing. And I think probably the next thing that everybody wants to know is the price. But before we get into the price, first, let me introduce to you Mancho, who is Poco GM.
For Poco in India. Talking of India, let me start with, just as Jay and Alvin mentioned, we are glad that Poco is being backed by the strengths of Xiaomi. Today, Xiaomi is the #1 smartphone brand in the country. And it is rated by Red Quanta as the best-in-class after-sales service provider. I'm so happy to announce that Poco F1 will be supported by all the 1,000 service centers of Xiaomi in India. We're also very happy to mention that Poco F1 will be made in India. Thank you. We're actually leveraging the supply chain ecosystem created by Xiaomi. Today, Xiaomi has 6 manufacturing facilities across India, and they will be supporting Poco for the local manufacturing. Now, this is very, very important for hitting aggressive price points in this market. Oh, did I talk about the price? So I think all of us here are waiting for this moment. Am I right? Yeah. All right. So before going to the price, let's look at the other smartphones in the similar category. We have here the Poco F1 compared with OnePlus 6, which is powered with Snapdragon 845, does not have liquid cooling, comes with a 3300 mAh battery. The 6 plus 64 variant is priced at 34,999, while the Samsung Galaxy S9 comes with a Exynos 9810, has a liquid cooling, but with a 3000 milliamp battery. The 4 plus 64 variant is priced at a whopping 57,900 rupees. The Poco F1 comes with a 6 GB RAM and a 64 GB variant. Any guesses on the price? Okay, I heard 25 there. Okay, I'm hearing many, many different prices. So let's go for it. Thank you, everyone. Poco F1, the 6 plus 64 variant, is priced at 20,999. Here, I would want to mention, we have taken meticulous measures to ensure that we are pricing the phone as honest as possible, despite many barriers. Let it be the currency fluctuations, let it be the right product decisions, and let it be the support system which we are getting from Xiaomi. This helps us achieve this aggressive pricing.